coming for our family. Because that would be crazy.
Final Destination Bloodlines is the newest entry in the long-running franchise. I say as though there hasn't been a massive gap between. As I always do, because it's quite recent, I'm going to sort of do the basic overview, no spoilers or as few as I can remember, because sometimes, they might slip through. And then I'll go into a bit more spoiler stuff in the second part. But this was directed by Zach Lipovsky and Adam Stein, with a screenplay written by Gary Busick and Laurie Evans-Taylor. They wrote the story alongside John Watts, and of course this is all based on characters created by Jeffrey Reddick. It stars Caitlin Santa Juana, Teo Briones, Richard Harmon, definitely an interesting performance, and of course Tony Todd. And I thought at the start it was a bit slow to get going, but it was kind of slow, but it didn't quite drag. It was always just the right side. And then once everything really kicks off, there were some really fun moments, and I say that as someone who didn't think that I'd really enjoy the cinema experience of this as much, even though I signed up for it. Because the first one came out probably when I was late teens at the latest, so it wasn't something I really wanted to see at the cinema then. The other entries, I wasn't really going to the cinema much when I was late teens, early 20s anyway. So I always watched on home, which is a lot more safe, and things like that. So I was braced for having a tough time of this. I was fine. There were moments I was grinning, and I will defend that in a second. But my partner was squirming in her seat, and it was beautiful to watch. I say that with no malice. It was just funny. And she enjoyed the fun of it, like the fact she works in a hospital. She's used to seeing people in various states of awfulness, and she was gotten by fake blood and things like that. But it was only the first few, she said in her defence. I think it was a few more than she thinks, but it is one of those that if you're going with someone who may react, it'll be fun. Absolutely. But the reason I was grinning, I did say I'd defend myself, is not the deaths or anything like that. I'm not like this awful person, this awful sociopath or psychopath who just likes to see blood and gore. I love the setup. This is what elevates this above things like Saw to me. Saw is very much about torturing the person. It's very mean-spirited. There's not really any Saw traps that are kind of I get why you're trying to do that, and I kind of get it. A lot of them are it's spectacle, especially in the more later entries. It's spectacle, it's mean-spirited, it's I like some of the lore of Saw more than I like the gore of Saw. With Final Destination, it's these Rube Goldberg-esque setups. One little thing drops, which then causes something to get knocked over, which knocks into something else, and then someone trips on that, and their face goes onto the floor, and you're like, oh no, is that it? And then, no, that's fine. But then something falls on their head. It's that. It's these moments of misdirect, and these moments of expectation. There were a few moments in some of the setups of this that I was like, I braced. I was like, oh, it's coming. And we had a little release. Oh, it's coming. We had a release. I like that. It's like a roller coaster. You don't just go all the way up and then all the way down and then you're back to the base. There's got to be some up, some building tension, some rising, and then you drop and you go around a bankment and then you perhaps do a bit more rising. You've got to have this ebb and flow. Horror films and roller coasters basically work on the same ideas. And as, I guess, a roller coaster where you don't have G-forces and weather to contend with, this delivers for the most part. I really did enjoy my time with it. Were some of the deaths a bit kind of why and, perhaps over-convoluted? Yes, but they always are in this. Were some of the moments perhaps less good than others? Yeah, you'll get that in any film. If you've enjoyed the other entries in the series, you'll enjoy this. If you're new to the franchise, I think, if you like horror and you like some fun moments, you'll enjoy this. I genuinely think this is a good film. It's not 10 out of 10 because that's very high bar, but it's certainly one of the better entries in this franchise. So now with that overview out of the way, for those who are worried about spoilers and everything like that, please, stop watching now. This isn't part of the design. This isn't the premonition. Death's not going to come for you. Just stop the video now. Go and watch the film. Come back, watch the rest later.
I saw what death was about to do.
For the rest of you, or those who don't care, let's carry on. So I mentioned before, Richard Harmon's performance was great, and the reveal for him, I predicted, but not quite. When it was like, oh, it didn't get him, I mean, the fact that it shows this building blow up and everything like, you're like, that's it, he's gone. And then it's like, he's fine. I was like, something is amiss here. This doesn't happen. If death was going to get him, it was going to get him. So I think, as self-aggrandizing as it is, I think my moral centre shone in this, because I was like, oh, he's probably adopted. Not actually the case, obviously it was an affair, but yeah, like I say, I wanted to think positively. But that was obviously how he got off. But then, because he was intervening in Bobby's death, that's when he got. And that was one of the more grim ones for me. Bobby's death in particular, the spiral. Again, I saw that coming. I felt as soon as the MRI was on, I was like, okay, the wheelchair's going to get sucked in. But there is that vending machine. That's probably going to have a part to play. The only moment, while I joked about my partner earlier, the only moment I had a wince of any kind or an uncomfortability in a meaningful way was after that. I felt the top of my head, I just needed to kind of rub it a few times to definitely check it was there. It was quite grim, that one. But again, it wasn't one of those where I was looking away a lot. You know, there were a couple of moments that were a bit grim that I did look away from, but I enjoyed it. You know, it's definitely a wild, fun ride. If there are more in the series, I mean, it's one of those where it's got to start a new chain effectively now, in theory. But every sequel has been like, well, we know what was said in that one, but we'll slightly change the rules. It's always been the case, so I think they can move forward. However, that does lead me to what I want to end with, and it's Tony Todd. This is his final film performance, a posthumous release, and I said to my partner, I think the day after we'd seen it, that maybe I'd have preferred a voice role, because it was quite hard to see. This is a man who I had a lot of respect for from the moment I first saw whatever it is I saw him in first, which might have been Candyman, to be honest. That's probably not the best thing to have seen when I was as young as I was. But, you know, Candyman was one of those roles. That's why I've reviewed all of them on this channel. I love Tony Todd's work. Also is in the first Crow film. I've talked about that. But then we have some of his other performances that, if you only know him as a horror icon, you might be surprised of. Or surprised about, whatever the correct grammatical version of that is. And the one that comes to mind, first of all, and most prominently, is the episode of DS9 where he played the older version of Jake. I was like, this is a man who has range. I already liked you as a horror icon, but now I like you as an actor overall. And yeah, everything I've ever seen him in, everything I've heard about him, this was a good guy. So when he's there as Bloodworth and he's so thin and gaunt, it got me right in the chest. And I think it's also because, you know, my dad, whilst it was a different cause entirely, did look thin and frail towards his end as well. So I think there was a reminder of that. But I think the fact here that the character has an unspecified form of cancer that's taken him out, which kind of matches with Tony Todd because he had stomach cancer. So we've got a character with a disease that the actor also has, then giving one of the most positive messages, and bear in mind this is a Final Destination film, but about the idea that yes, death comes for us all, which is pretty much the tagline for this entire franchise. But death comes for us all, so we're never going to know exactly when. So maybe we should make the most of every second that we have. Every moment we can do something that enriches our lives or those around us. We should. Again, this came from a Final Destination film. And this is the legacy of Tony Todd to me. It's, yeah, I'm on my deathbed, but this is a franchise that people enjoy. People enjoy my character, my performances in it. And I want to say goodbye to the fans. And that's why, even though I thought that a voice role might have been better, no, I needed to say goodbye properly to Tony Todd, and I'm glad that I have. So, on that sort of bittersweet note, that's where I'll end, because really, what do I say after that? I mean, like I said in the pre-spoiler bit, again, if you haven't seen it yet and you didn't mind those spoilers, definitely see it. But it's definitely worthy, you know, of this entry. You can tell I'm emotionally affected. I can't get my thoughts out, so I'm just going to wrap up. So yes, thank you very much for letting me talk about this, and until next time, as always, thank you for watching, take care, and as Bloodworth says, make every second count.
Good luck.